Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming OCS exams happening in November 2025. My name is Nick and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for OCS at TCS. So let's look at the session plan. First things first, I'm going to conduct a masterclass, thereby directing your attention towards a question to do with break-even analysis. And then, as usual, I will be conducting the Q&A. So before we get into the technicalities, let me quickly remind you of the upcoming workshops we have scheduled for you. So the E1 workshop is happening next Sunday at 10 GMT or 10 AM UK. And just like in today's session, I will be conducting a masterclass at this E1 workshop, followed by a Q&A. And the final workshop, which happens just 2 or 3 days before your examination, I will be sharing last minute tips with you to make sure that you are capable of being confident before the exam. Because as per the CIMA examiner, if you're confident about your skill set, you'll be confident during your exam as well. All right, so let's move towards the masterclass. So before I do so, let me quickly take you through the entire syllabus, thereby explaining the P1 related syllabus areas you have to be conversant with before you walk into your examination. So as you know, as I've mentioned throughout this webinar and workshop series, your paper is P1 and F1 heavy. So a major portion of your knowledge concerning what's highlighted within the P1 syllabus will be tested. So you have to be conversant with all these elements to make sure that you are capable of tackling each type of question, each type of syllabus area in the most successful manner. So you have to be conversant with what is covered under variance analysis. So all these different types of variances, such as sales variances, sales mix and quantity, the material variances, labor variances, as well as variable and fixed overhead variances will be tested at the exam. You are not expected to do any calculations. All the facts and figures will be shared with you. Your job is to explain these numbers. And also your knowledge concerning planning and operational variances will be tested at the examination. So you should have an understanding of what planning and operational variances are. And when evaluating someone's performance, you need to have the capability to determine whether a certain variance arose due to a planning deficiency or something, some type of inefficiency tied to operations. So based on this understanding, you have to evaluate someone's performance, and all these elements are covered within our mock exams. And your knowledge concerning budgeting and controls will be tested at the exam. So you have to have a good understanding of what the principal budgeting factor is, and based on the principal budgeting factor, when developing the various different other budgets, how the entire budgeting process of an organization is kick-started by identifying the principal budgeting factor. So all these elements will be tested, and you have to know the differences between imposed versus participative budgeting styles. Give me a second, please, guys. Okay. And on top of that, your knowledge concerning concepts such as budget stress testing, especially in this day and age, modern companies utilize budget stress testing because if there's a lot of uncertainty within your business environment, you cannot stick to the traditional incremental budgets, which are developed in a static manner, in which companies usually develop a budget each year. But when faced with a lot of uncertainties, we have to stress test our budgets to see whether we can withstand stressful situations by considering our financials. And also your knowledge concerning different alternatives to the current budgeting system. As you know, SumTrix utilizes incremental budgeting principles when developing their budgets, but as opposed to the current budgeting system, the alternatives will be tested at the exam, such as rolling budgets, flexible budgets, activity-based budgeting, zero-based budgeting, and beyond budgeting. So you need to understand what these budgeting styles are, how to implement each budgeting style, and the type of benefits on offer by implementing each type of these budgets. And also your knowledge concerning feed forward and feedback controls. The difference between feed forward and feedback controls will be tested. and your knowledge concerning responsibility accounting, as well as what if and sensitivity analysis. The differences between what if and sensitivity analysis will be tested at your examination. And your knowledge concerning costing and pricing methodologies will be tested. So you have to have an understanding of the differences between marginal and absorption costing principles. And also, it's essential that you gain a good understanding of what activity-based budgeting is, what type of steps we need to adhere to when implementing activity-based budgeting within your activity-based costing, rather, within your chosen company, the pros and cons of adopting ABC within SumTrix, because if you had gone through the annotated pre-scene, you already know what I'm talking about. If you have watched the pre-scene analysis videos, I've covered this element as well, in which I've taken you through the financial statements which appeared within your pre-scene, and whilst taking you through the budgets, for instance, I've highlighted about the overheads concerning various different products we manufacture. So by looking at this overhead figure and by comparing these overheads to total costs, you can easily determine whether these overheads are substantial. And looking at our batch manufacturing production process, you can see whether activity-based costing will be beneficial for us, whether we can implement it without any hiccups. And on top of that, the disadvantages of implementing ABC, or the costs tied to implementing ABC, because under an ABC scenario, we'd have to spend a lot of effort to keep tabs of all types of activities which occur within our manufacturing operations, which occur within our various different warehouses and whatnot. So that is why your knowledge concerning activity-based costing will definitely be tested at this examination. And also, you should know what relevant costing is. And there could be a scenario in which SumTrix is considering to develop an application, a web app, or it could be a mobile application. So there are various different costs tied to app development. So you should know what these costs are. And pricing methods on top of costing, your knowledge concerning pricing methods will be tested. So you should know what cost plus pricing is, what marginal cost plus pricing is, what absorption cost plus pricing is. So all these methods or all these knowledge areas will be tested. And when opting for an international expansion, it could be us setting up a branch or a subsidiary in a foreign country. If so, your knowledge concerning transfer pricing, and aligned with transfer pricing, your knowledge concerning how it impacts our tax calculations will be tested at the exam. And also your knowledge concerning the CGMA cost transformation model will be tested, especially given the fact that SumTrix believes in sustainability, achieving sustainability. So in order to achieve real sustainability, we have to spend some additional money, additional investments, and you should know how to balance off these investments by considering the benefits of achieving sustainability. So when a company strives to achieve these objectives, then such a company is supposed to implement or use the CGMA cost transformation model. And also your knowledge concerning digital costing will be tested, especially in this day and age. If you have to gather a lot of data, and at the same time, if we are to increase the efficiency of our internal processes, we have to digitalize our systems. And when doing so, it's essential that we digitalize our costing initiatives, costing systems as well. So that's why your knowledge concerning digital costing will be tested at the examination. And also everything to do with forecasting will be tested. So you should know what big data is and how big data can be utilized for our benefit, and which angles you need to focus on when opting for implementing big data, or when utilizing information or data gathered via big data dumps. And also your knowledge concerning time series analysis. You're not supposed to do any calculations. Instead, you have to have the capability to evaluate the facts and figures which are thrown at you. And your knowledge concerning linear regression equation. These regression charts will be shared with you. Your job is to explain these regression charts and how to conduct seasonal variation calculations. Again, you are not supposed to do any calculations. Instead, you are supposed to evaluate these seasonal variation models. And at the same time, the limitations of each of these forecasting techniques will be tested at the examination. And your knowledge concerning short-term risk management or keeping tabs about uncertainty will be tested. So you should have a good understanding of various different risk attitudes adopted by various different decision makers. So you should know what or how a maximax decision maker operates, and how a minimax and maximin decision criteria should be considered, given the fact that different individuals will look at risk with in a totally different angle. So all these things will be tested, and your knowledge concerning payoff tables, decision trees, expected values, standard deviation, COVs or coefficient of variation, and how to compute value of perfect information. All these elements will be tested at the exam. Again, as I've mentioned previously, you are not supposed to do any calculations. Your job is to evaluate the figures which are thrown at you. And also, your knowledge concerning risk identification and management. These are concerning short-term risks. So you should have the capability of identifying certain risks as per what's highlighted within the unseen, and come up with mitigatory strategies which are not crucial. It's in certain past variants, I've seen just one or two subtasks which carry just 20 to 15% weightage concerning risk identification and management, because at this stage, as I mentioned earlier, you are not supposed to be involved with decision making. Instead, you are supposed to assist decision makers. And also, limitations of each of these risk management tools will be tested at your exam. And also, your knowledge concerning short-term decision making will be tested. So you should have the capability of conducting evaluations with regards to make or buy decisions, especially given the fact that when you look at the accessories which we procure from third parties. So in your exam, there could be a scenario in which the company is contemplating about whether we should acquire these accessories from third parties, or whether it makes financial sense, or whether it is prudent to manufacture them in-house, given the fact that we are already into ski manufacturing. So why not manufacture ski accessories by ourselves rather than purchasing it from a third party or opting for outsourcing agreements? So this is where your knowledge concerning make or buy decisions will be tested. So numbers will be shared with you. You are supposed to conduct your evaluations, and based on your evaluations, come up with your recommendations. And also, your knowledge concerning multi-product break-even analysis will be tested. And in today's masterclass, I'm going to direct your attention towards a question tied to multi-product break-even analysis. And linear programming, again, as I mentioned earlier, how to read linear programming graphs, and based on it, how to come up with decisions. And your knowledge concerning inventory management. So you should know what an aggressive approach to inventory management is, and by adopting such a methodology, the pros and cons your company will have to face. And you should know the differences between the economic order quantity as well as the just-in-time purchasing methodologies. And your knowledge concerning ethics, ethical decision making will be tested, as well as CSR or corporate social responsibility. And you should also know how to manage redundancies, especially when the company is, let's assume the company is opting for some type of automation in the future. When doing so, our internal employees, some of them might lose their jobs, and we should know how to tackle such a situation in the most ethical manner. And also, the benefits on offer by adopting AI or artificial intelligence within our manufacturing operations will be tested. And also, not just the financial elements tied to decision making, your knowledge concerning non-financial factors to consider when arriving at decisions will be tested. And also, you should have the capability to suggest performance measures, or in other terms, key performance indicators or KPIs. So first things first, you should have an understanding of what type of benefits the decision makers of your company will face by using KPI dashboards. And on top of that, be ready or be prepared to recommend justified KPIs. So as I've mentioned throughout this webinar and workshop series, whenever you are suggesting KPIs, there's absolutely no point of just mentioning a KPI. Instead, you should justify your position, thereby arguing as to why you are suggesting a certain KPI. And you should also have the capability of highlighting how to calculate each type of KPI as well. And we have made sure to include KPIs concerning the internal dynamics of SumTrix, and therefore the type of KPIs to use when we are opting for some type of product diversification, because there's a hint about it within your pre-scene, because there's a mention about paras keys within your pre-scene. We are not manufacturing paras keys at the moment. However, we might, as per the unseen info, there could be a situation where the company opts for some type of diversification, for instance, with regards to manufacturing or moving into manufacturing paras keys. So in such an instance, you should have the capability of suggesting KPIs to keep tabs about the performance or the success of a product diversification. And when we are opting for some type of an international expansion, again, we have to keep tabs about the performance or the success of this international expansion. And you should have the capability of tracking performance of retail and website sales teams. So with this in mind, be prepared to suggest KPIs to keep tabs about performance of retail and website sales teams, and also to measure the performance of product development team, the production department, distribution and delivery departments, good inwards and outwards warehouses, as well as keeping tabs about raw material and packaging material suppliers, to make sure that we are getting inputs which are of the highest quality, and to make sure that these suppliers are sticking to their lead times. Also, be prepared to measure performance of distribution agents with which we will work in the future, especially when opting for international expansion, and your knowledge concerning KPIs concerning digital marketing elements, especially given the fact that we rely on social media marketing and influencer marketing at the moment. So in such instances, we have to keep tabs about the effectiveness of our existing digital marketing initiatives or strategies. So be prepared to suggest KPIs covering these elements. And as I mentioned earlier, if the company decides on introducing an app, it could be a mobile app or it could be a web app. So after introducing an app or before introducing an app, we have to come up with KPIs to keep tabs about the performance of this app, to see whether it is working without any hiccups. And also your knowledge concerning non-financial KPIs will be tested at your examination. So, we have covered all these elements within our 6 mock exams. So that is why it is essential that you stick to our study plans and take steps to attempt each mock under exam conditions. And after you're done with each mock attempt, you have to spend some time to revise your knowledge, which is to go through our answer plans first. After you have gone through the answer plans, then you have to keep it aside and try to redevelop these answer plans on your own, with the intention of ensuring that you are capable of structuring your answers, which are akin to TCS's answer plans. Okay, so that's what your P1 syllabus is all about. Having said that, let's move on to the masterclass. So in this masterclass, I'm going to direct your attention towards OCS Mock 5, Section 2. OCS Mock 5, Section 2. So I'm not going to take you through this entire section. Instead, I want to direct your attention towards the second subtask, which is focused on question to do with break-even analysis. Okay, the board is setting sales targets for the newly launched paras key range. So I mentioned the fact that there is a hint about some type of diversification your company might pursue, because this information concerning paras keys appear within your pre-scene document, appear within one of the news articles. So the board is, as per the current information which is highlighted within this scenario, the board is setting sales targets for the newly launched paras key range designed to meet the needs of athletes with disabilities. The new range consists of 3 core products: mono skis, bi skis, and tri skis. So let's try to understand what these 3 products are. Mono skis are intended for users with lower limb impairments who prefer seated skiing. Bi skis are intended for those who are looking for greater stability through dual ski support, and this is suitable for beginners or those requiring assisted balance. and tri-skis are a unique product. This is a 3-ski configuration developed for users with complex mobility needs, enabling control and support. So you need not really understand the technicalities behind these new products. You should have an understanding of what is highlighted within your unseen. Other than that, you really need not know what these products are and the technicalities or the specifications behind these products. At the managing director's request, I have prepared a multi-product break-even chart to assist in this process. See reference material. So let's look at the second reference material, and there's some information concerning the 3 products which we are offering, the 3 new products which we are manufacturing at the moment, which are mono skis, bi skis, and tri skis. And the revenue figures concerning each product category can be seen along with a total, and also the total variable cost of manufacturing each type of product category is shared with you, along with the contribution. As you know, when we deduct variable costs from the revenue figures, we arrive at the contribution, and then the total fixed cost figure is seen, which is $188,000, and therefore a profit has been calculated concerning this diversification into manufacturing para skis, and a contribution to sales ratio focused on each product category is shared with you. As you can see, if we manufacture and sell mono skis, it carries the highest contribution to sales ratio, which is 58%. So if we sell this product, a mono ski, at $100, then we will end up generating contribution which amounts to $58. So looking at the tri-ski range, it carries the lowest CS ratio or the contribution to sales ratio. And fixed costs of 188,000. So this is the fixed cost figure, 188,000. Comprises of additional marketing costs which were incurred to promote the new para-ski range. So in order to promote this para-ski range, we have spent $188,000, which is as depicted in here. And the based on all this information, a break-even point chart had been drawn. So this is what the break-even chart looks like. There are 3 different lines, a pink-colored one, a purple-colored, and an orange-colored line, as well as there are 2 points which have been mentioned as X and Y, as well as there are certain points which are named as A, B, and C. So let's look at what your requirement is. You are supposed to explain the attached chart, also highlight the advantages and disadvantages of carrying out a break-even analysis on our new para-ski range. So this requirement carry 2 elements. First things first, you have to explain the attached chart, and then you are supposed to highlight the advantages and disadvantages of conducting a break-even analysis. So as you know, as we have taught in the 3rd webinar, as per our answering technique, before you develop the answer plan, you are supposed to simplify the requirement in your own words in a concise manner. So let's look at how we should do it. So I've simplified the requirement as explain the chart and indicate the pros and cons of us carrying out a break-even analysis. So the weightage provided is 40%. Based on that, 15 marks are dedicated for this subtask. So let's look at how we should structure your answer. So I've come up with a main heading which goes as multi-product break-even chart, which is in bold and underlined format. And then let's try to understand how we should evaluate or explain this chart. So as I mentioned earlier, you're not supposed to do any calculations, draw graphs and whatnot. Your job is to explain all the facts and figures. So that's exactly what you should do. So first, let's direct our attention towards this horizontal line, which is pink colored, which is already tagged as the fixed cost line. And as you can see, it's somewhere around $188,000. Okay, it's almost at $200,000. So it's a bit below 200,000. So this is our fixed cost, the marketing campaign, the fixed cost tied to our marketing campaign. So this horizontal line is our fixed cost line, which remains the same at different activity levels. As you can see, irrespective of activity level. So the revenues we generate, the fixed cost remains constant, which is quite normal because let's assume we do not generate any revenues by selling these 3 new products. Still, we have already spent the $188,000, which is our fixed cost. And on the other hand, let's assume we ended up generating something like $1,500 worth of revenue, or sorry, $1.5 million worth of revenue. Still, the fixed cost is the same, because these are the advertising costs which we spent. And there is a straight line, the purple colored 0C line. So I'm talking about this purple colored straight line, 0 to C line. So let's try to understand what this line is all about. So this line is drawn considering the weighted average contribution at different sales levels, assuming that the sales mix remains constant. So we are manufacturing 3 different products, and there's no mention about how many units we intend to sell on a product by product basis. However, assuming that we achieve our sales targets concerning each type of product category, and assuming that we sell each of our products at the expected sales mix, and assuming that our actual performance is just like the budgeted sales mix, then we can determine a weighted average contribution. And considering this, we are supposed to draw this purple colored line. Okay, so this purple colored line gives us an indication about, on average, how much contribution we'd end up generating at various different revenue levels. So by looking at this line, let's assume that we are achieving 1 million worth of revenues. Then we can see that we'd end up achieving contribution which amounts to something like $550,000. So that's how we should read this line. And then you can see a point Y, which is depicted at the position in which this purple colored, or the weighted average contribution line, is meeting the fixed cost line. So this point is mentioned as point Y. So let's try to understand what this point is all about. So this point Y represents the fact that in order to break even, in order to be in a position where we do not make any profits nor losses, so we are not making any we are not facing any losses, and at the same time we are not making any profits. That is what the break-even point is all about. So decision makers should know the break-even point when selling a certain product or selling multiple product categories, to ensure that they are well informed of at least how much revenue we are supposed to generate to be in a position where our losses are 0 and our profits are 0 as well. So our revenues are equal to cost at the break-even point. So as per the information presented, it appears that we have to generate revenues at least amounting to $350,000 to arrive at the break-even point. So in order to break even, in order to be in a position where we don't make any profits nor losses, we have to at least generate $350,000 worth of revenue. And beyond this point, we will start generating profits for the company. And below this point, we are making losses. All right. So that is what's mentioned in here. So to break even, we need to achieve sales revenue of approximately $350,000. If we don't achieve this, we will be making losses. If we go beyond this point, from $350,000 onwards, every dollar we generate as revenue will contribute to our profitability. And there is an orange colored line as well, which is termed as the 0, A, B, and C line. You can see that there's an orange colored line. So let's try to understand what the second line is all about. So this line represents the relationship between the contribution and sales, or we draw this line considering the CS ratios. So this line is drawn assuming that products are sold in the order of the CS ratio. So if we sell products in the order of the CS ratio, then what should we do? We should first focus our attention towards selling the products which generates the highest amount of contribution relative to sales. So That's why we are considering the CS ratio. And when doing so, we can see that when looking at the monoski range, we are generating contribution to sales ratio or the highest CS ratio, which amounts to 58%. And then when we manufacture and sell biskis, we end up generating a contribution to sales, achieving a contribution to sales ratio of 53%. And when we end up manufacturing and selling tri-skis, we only generate a CS ratio which comes up to 50%. So as I mentioned earlier, let's assume we are selling mono skis first, the product which generates the most amount of contribution first, and then we end up we try to sell the biskis. And once we have achieved the sales targets of mono and biskis, then we direct our attention towards selling the product which carries the least amount of contribution for us. All right. So assuming that we are first selling the products which carry the most contribution, and then focused on selling the product which carries the second most contribution. And once we have achieved our sales targets, we are supposed to focus our attention towards selling the product category which generates the lowest contribution for us. All right. So that's exactly what you can see here. So in order to explain this, what I've done is, rather than explaining the entire line, I've just mentioned what a certain portion of this line means. And when you show this to the marker, then the marker knows that you know your theory and you know how to explain this orange colored line. So I've considered just one single point, the points or one single element of this line. So I've considered points 0 to A, or what is depicted by this line from point 0 to point A. So point 0 to A indicates the contribution which we'd generate by selling the monoski range, which is the most which generates the most amount of contribution for us. So as I mentioned earlier, if you look at the monoski range, the highest CS ratio, it generates the highest contribution for us, or it carries the highest CS ratio. So we assume that we are selling the most profitable, or the product which generates the most amount of contribution first. So that is what this 0 to A element of this line depicts. And point A to B depicts how much contribution we'd generate by selling the product category, the biski range, which carries the second most amount of contribution. And the point B to C indicates how much contribution we'd earn by selling the least profitable, or the product category which carries the least amount of contribution. All right. And there is another point in here, which is named as point X. This is the line. This is where both our orange colored and the pink colored lines intercept. And by looking at this, we can see that somewhere if we generate something like $325,000 worth of revenue, we end up breaking even, or we arrive at a situation where we are making zero profits as well as zero losses, or our cost is equal to our revenues. All right, so that's exactly what's highlighted in here. Point X indicates the break-even point of the new line, or the orange colored line. And we can see that we are achieving the break-even point faster compared to the original weighted average contribution line, which is depicted as the purple colored line. So I said that if we are to achieve break-even under normal circumstances, as long as we achieve our budgeted sales mix, if we are to break even, we have to end up selling at least achieving at least $350,000 worth of revenue. But now, since we are selling the most profitable products first, since we are selling the product categories which generate the most amount of contribution for us, we are achieving break even faster. So previously, we had to wait until we generate $350,000 worth of revenue to break even. However, now we are achieving break even at just $325,000. So we can achieve the break even faster, given the fact that we are selling the products which carry the most amount of contribution. So products with the highest CS ratio are sold first. Because of that, we are recovering our costs faster, and therefore we achieve the break-even point faster compared to the traditional break-even line. Okay, so that's my explanation. So I've highlighted, or I've explained all these lines, what these lines depict. I've explained all these points as well as the two break-even points. Okay, so that's the first part of my answer. And then you are also supposed to highlight the benefits and limitations of relying on this type of break-even analysis concerning our new Paraski range. So the break-even point indicates the sales levels required to cover our fixed costs. As you know, in order to cover our fixed costs, how much revenue are we supposed to generate? That is what the break-even point indicates. And by looking at this graph, we can also determine the margin of safety. So the margin of safety gives us an indication of by how much our revenues can dip until we achieve our break-even point. Okay, so for instance, if you look at this graph, it appears that we are planning to generate revenues amounting to $1.5 million. That's exactly what you can see here. Both these lines end at $1.5 million. So we are planning to achieve sales amounting to $1.5 million. So when calculating the margin of safety, what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to first things first, determine how much total revenue we are going to generate by manufacturing and selling these three products, which is 1.5 million or 1.55 million as per the depicted graph. And from this, we have to deduct our break-even point. So the break-even point is $350,000, or in million terms, is 0.35 million. So from our total revenues, when we deduct the break-even point, then we break-even value rather, then we arrive at the margin of safety. So when you deduct 1.55 million, 0.35 million from 1.55 million, we arrive at a margin of safety, which is $1.2 million. So this indicates the fact that our sales can drop by $1.2 million. Still, we won't face any losses, because as long as we are at the break-even point, our losses are zero. So assuming the fact that we are planning to achieve sales amounting to $1.55 million, we have a safety buffer. Our sales can drop by $1.2 million. We need not worry about making losses. However, if our sales drop beyond $1.2 million, we know for a fact that we are going to face losses. So this is a significant margin of safety, especially given the fact that we are operating in a new market, which highlights the fact that probably our estimates are too optimistic. So we might be relying on estimates which are inaccurate or too optimistic. That's why, especially when operating within a new market, it's not too normal to see a significant margin of safety, because if you look at this entire graph, there's a huge margin of safety, which is from this point, $350,000 to $1.55 million. Okay, so probably this is probably given the fact that we are relying on outdated information, or our estimates are too optimistic. And also, it's unrealistic to assume that we can sell the products in the order of CS ratio. So when selling our products, we know for a fact the monoski range will generate the most amount of contribution, followed by biskis and triskis. Although this is the case, when we are selling our products, are we in a position to just sell the monoskis first and then focus our attention towards selling biskis and then focus on selling triskis? We can't do so, because sales revenue depends on customer uptake. So when we have informed the market about the fact that we are trying to fulfill the needs of customers who are looking to purchase Paraskis, when we have informed the market that we are introducing 3 new products, when this is the case, we cannot simply say we are waiting until we recover the costs by selling the monoski range. And then once we have achieved the sales targets of monoskis, then we'd focus our attention towards biskis and triskis. We cannot say that because we have to make sure that we manufacture all these three products and make them available, because it's up to the customers to decide which product category they want to purchase. So because of that, this orange colored line, 0 ABC line, is unrealistic. So hence the 0 ABC line becomes unrealistic, because it is unrealistic to assume that we are supposed to sell products in the order of CS ratio. Instead, we are supposed to sell each of these products in a mix. Okay. And also looking at the purple colored line, this purple colored line is unrealistic as well. Why am I saying this? Because it is unlikely to sell at a constant sales mix, because we have planned to sell a certain number of units concerning these three products. However, when you look at actual performance, actual sales performance, we will not stick to the same sales mix. For instance, let's assume that we have decided to manufacture and sell 500 monoskis, 300 biskis, and 200 triskis. Let's assume that these are our sales targets. However, so this is our sales mix. We are supposed to, at the end of the year, we are supposed to sell 500 monoskis, 300 biskis, and just 200 triskis. However, when you look at the actual numbers, this will never be the case. When we have decided to sell a higher number of monoskis, if the demand is for triskis in the market, then we will end up selling more triskis compared to what we budgeted for, and vice versa. So because of that, it's unrealistic to assume that we will sell our products at a constant sales mix, because it is up to the customers to decide which product category they'd end up purchasing. So due to this fact, the break-even point will be higher or lower if we sell in a different mix. So if we end up selling the products which carry the highest amount of contribution, then the break-even point, although as per the graph is $350,000 worth of revenue, we will achieve the break-even point faster. On the other hand, if we end up selling more triskis as opposed to the other product categories, and since triskis carry the lowest contribution to sales ratio, it would take us some time to achieve a break-even point. So although as per the graph, the break-even point is, in order to achieve the break-even point, we have to achieve $350,000 worth of revenue, $350,000 worth of revenue. If we end up selling a lot of triskis as opposed to the other two product categories, our break-even point might be 400,000 or 450,000. So the break-even point will increase. All right. So that's why I'm saying that the purple colored line is inaccurate as well, because there's no way that we will sell each of these product categories at a constant sales mix. And hence, the actual break-even point will lie between these two lines. So our break-even point is between $325,000 and $350,000. So what we should assume is the fact that if we achieve sales revenue between $325,000 to $350,000, then somewhere between these two figures, we will achieve the real break-even point when we consider actual sales data. So this graph is always drawn considering assumptions. However, when you compare our budgets with actual performance, definitely there is going to be a difference. And therefore, the break-even point is not going to be $325,000. The break-even point is not going to be $350,000. Instead, the break-even point will lie in between these two figures. Okay, so that's what I've highlighted in here. And also, as I mentioned earlier, figures used are estimates and assume a linear relationship over the whole range. We assume that variable costs will behave in a linear manner. That is what variable costs are supposed to behave in this way, because when sales increases, for instance, when sales increases by 10%, so would the variable costs. However, this is not the case when you look at actual situations, because due to scale related advantages, the variable costs might keep depleting when output increases. So on top of us using estimates or relying on estimates, we also assume that there's a linear relationship between costs over the whole range, which is not going to be accurate, or which is not going to be the case in reality. And also, we assume that costs can be defined as fixed and variable. However, this is not going to be the case, because in the short term, many costs that appear to be variable are actually fixed. So in the short term, we assume that labor costs are variable. But if we are paying salaries, then if you look at the bigger picture, in the long run, if you look at the bigger picture, these same labor costs, which were considered as variable costs in the short term, become fixed in the long run, especially when we are paying salaries, because we end up, let's look at an individual employee. Let's assume we are paying a salary to a certain employee. So when you pay a salary, it is actually a fixed cost of the company, because irrespective of the performance of the employee, let's assume this employee didn't turn up for work for about 3 weeks in a month due to him or her facing some type of an accident. Still, we have to pay the salary. So that is why we consider salaries to be fixed in the long run. However, employee salaries are considered to be variable in the short term. And also in the long term, all costs are variable, because if you evaluate fixed costs, a certain cost which remains unchanged over a period of time, irrespective of the activity level, is considered as a fixed cost. But if you look at the long run, with the business improving, with the activity level improving, fixed costs will keep on increasing in a stepped manner. So these are considered as stepped fixed costs. So when output increases, with it, when fixed costs, which are supposed to remain constant, it doesn't remain constant. Instead, when it increases with output increments in the future, then such costs which are considered as fixed in the short term will be considered as variable in the long run. So that is why we say that we cannot easily define costs to be fixed or variable, because cost behavior changes depending on the time period you are considering. Okay, and fixed costs included in the chart represent only specific fixed costs. So fixed costs which are specific to this related diversification, because as per what's highlighted within this unseen, we are supposed to spend $188,000, which is our marketing cost tied to the new Paraski range. However, when we allocate a share of general fixed overheads, it's essential that we allocate a share of general fixed overheads which we experience when, even when we are diversifying into a new product category. Because, for instance, let's assume we are paying rent. When we are paying rent, we have to allocate a portion of this rent payment to the new ski range, and we have not considered this general fixed overheads when doing our calculations as per the unseen, and when drawing our break-even graph. So when we allocate a share of general fixed overheads, the costs increases. With that, the break-even point will increase, and when the break-even point increases, our margin of safety will fall. All right, so these are the elements which you need to consider when highlighting the benefits and limitations of conducting a break-even analysis. So this is a straightforward answer. These are the same type of points which you need to indicate within your answer if you are supposed to highlight the benefits and limitations of break-even analysis. And once you have developed this type of an answer plan, your next step should be to expand the answer plan in paragraph form. That's exactly what you can see here. So your final answer should look something like this. So I've come up with various different paragraphs focused on each point highlighted in your answer plan. All right, so that's what I wanted to highlight in today's masterclass, which was focused on break-even analysis. I selected this syllabus area because most of you struggle with this question. So I wanted to make sure that you have a good understanding of how to explain break-even graph, as well as highlight the benefits and limitations of relying on break-even graphs when carrying out decision making. All right, so having said that, let me quickly remind you what we offer at TCS. So I'm on the OCS page. If you're yet to create a free user account, click on this button and create one. Then you'd gain access to the student dashboard. And via the student dashboard, when you're on the student dashboard, rather, click on My Courses, and in front of OCS Free, you'd see an Access Content button. Click on it, and then you'd gain access to the weekly webinars and workshops we conduct. And also, you'd gain access to free study resources such as the answer plan of the mini mock exam, the pre-seen mind map, and the syllabus coverage document. And under the mocks tab, you'd gain access to the questions and suggested answers of mock exam 1. And you have you have the opportunity of attempting mock exam 1 under exam conditions via TCS's exam platform. And we have made sure to develop an exam platform which is the exact replica of the Pearson VUE system, so that you'd get your bearings with how the real exam functions. All right, so if you're interested in investing on our paid content, click on this button and check our sample material before you do so. And then I invite you guys to join our OCS WhatsApp group by clicking on this button. And talking about the two packages on offer, we offer two packages focused on two different types of students. So if you have completed your OTQs, you have mastered all conceptual elements. So it's simply a matter of understanding or improving your application skills. So under the essential course, you'd gain access to just 3 mock exams. Practicing just 3 mocks will ensure that you pass this exam comfortably, especially given the fact that you have an appropriate level of knowledge concerning all conceptual elements, given the fact that you have completed your OTQs. You will also gain access to the pre-seen analysis videos. Once you have watched these videos, you'd gain a good understanding of what is contained within your entire pre-seen. You will also gain access to the annotated pre-seen industry and financial analysis slides. So this is what our annotated pre-seen looks like. So we have the intention of coming up with these annotations is to make sure that we summarize the entire pre-seen so that you are not bombarded with unnecessary information. And at the same time, we have indicated probable exam scenarios which can be tested at your exam. And tied to these probable exam scenarios, we have highlighted the syllabus areas which might be tested. And when developing these 6 mock exams, we have made sure to cover all these elements. And we have also, as I mentioned earlier, we have developed a separate set of slides, thereby directing your attention towards what happens within your industry. So in the first part, we have defined your industry. In the second part, we have explained the competitive landscape. And in the third part, we have highlighted industry trends. Based on these industry trends, scenarios will be thrown at you at your real exam. And finally, we have considered 2 real-life companies and highlighted how they operate within your chosen industry. And similarly, we have evaluated the financial analysis, financial statements, thereby conducting a financial analysis. So we have made sure to keep things simple so that you can easily get an understanding of the financial standing of your chosen company. That's why we have evaluated the SOPL, the SOFP, and the statement of cash flows. And also we have conducted a ratio analysis with the intention of ensuring that you gain a deeper understanding of the financial situation of your chosen company. So all these resources are on offer under the essential course. You'd also gain access to top 10 likely show slides, which indicate the most probable syllabus areas which can be tested. You'd also gain access to a case study familiarization kit. Once you have gone through this kit, within 10 to 15 minutes, you will gain an in-depth understanding of the technicalities behind your OCS exam. And also you'd gain access to a tutor-managed live chat. And the essential course is priced at just £99. We are only charging for the 3 mock exams. All other resources are shared free of charge with you. And looking at the value course, in this course, you'd gain access to 6 mock exams with suggested answers. And when developing these 6 mock exams, we have made sure to cover all syllabus areas. And therefore, there are 72 subtasks which are contained within these 6 mock exams. And this value course is designed for those who are coming through the exemption route, as well as those who had failed the OCS exam previously. So both these sets of students have the same problem. There are gaps in theory knowledge and issues with application. So in order to make sure that you know how each conceptual element can be tested and you know how to apply your knowledge in a practical manner, we have included some additional resources under the value course. So on top of what appears within the essential course, you would also gain access to the online mock exam platform. on which you can attempt all 6 mocks under exam conditions, which is the best way to master your answering time management and stress management techniques. Also, you will be benefited by having access to the answer plans of all 6 mock exams, because rather than you having to go through pages and pages of suggested answers and try to figure out the logic behind each answer, try to figure out how to structure each answer, try to figure out the conceptual element covered, and try to figure out application on your own. Rather than you having to do all these things, when you go through these answer plans, you can easily understand the logic of each answer, how to deal with application, how to deal with each conceptual element, and at the same time, how to structure your answers. Because I conducted this masterclass focused on the answer plan, which we have, one of the answer plans which we have developed. So you can see how easily you can get an understanding of how to tackle each conceptual element, the logic behind each answer, as well as answer structuring. So the price of the value course is just £199. Again, we are only charging for the 6 mock exams. All other resources are shared with you free of charge. So you can invest on your preferred course by clicking on either of these buttons. And if you are planning on sitting for the OCS exams happening in February, you can invest right now and start your preparations, which will give you some additional time to conduct your revision and nail your answers, because you'd have access to these resources beyond a couple of weeks, because you'd have access until the 28th of February. And I want to direct your attention towards the OCS study plan, because I know for a fact that some of you are sticking to this 8-week study plan. We have already shared a 3-week study plan with you last week, and some of you might be adhering to this 3-week study plan as well. So to benefit those who are sticking to our original study plan, let's try to understand what you're supposed to achieve within this week. So we are in week number 6, and within this week, you are supposed to direct your attention towards mastering mock number 5. So attempt mock number 5 under exam conditions. If you have access to our exam platform, attempt mock number 5 via the exam platform, so that you can practice your answering time management and stress management techniques. Once you have practiced these 3 techniques, then go through the answer plans. This is when you will learn theory. This is when you will figure out application. This is when you understand the logic behind each answer. After learning these elements, keep our answer plans aside and try to develop answer plans on your own. Do it leisurely. Don't try to time yourself, because the objective of redeveloping answer plans is to test your knowledge and improve your application skills. All right, so that's what you need to achieve within this week. And if you're sticking to our 3-week study plan, within this week, you are supposed to attempt 2 mock exams, namely mocks 3 and 4, and conduct revision focused on the same 2 mock exams. And we are happy to say that we achieved a 95% pass rate in the previous sitting, and the highest scorer ended up scoring 118 marks when the pass mark was just 80. So if you stick to our study plan, if you attempt all mocks and conduct revision focused on our answering technique, then you can easily pass this examination. All right, so having said that, we are moving to the Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can switch on your mic and talk, or drop us a message via the chat. I'm going to pause the recording. All right, folks, thank you for those questions. I hope I addressed everything. So if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com. Visit our website and click on the contact button and drop us a message. Our admin staff will get in touch with you via email during office hours. And also you can directly email us at info@study@tcs.com, or if you need instantaneous support, simply drop us a message on this WhatsApp number. And I urge you guys to follow us on our social media handles, especially YouTube and TikTok, because the recorded versions of these weekly webinars and workshops are uploaded to our YouTube handle. And also via TikTok, you'd gain access to 6 videos, which is a good pre-seen mind map. So Harshit, you were talking about following a workbook. So rather than doing these things as mentioned in the Q&A, if you want to gain an understanding of the pre-scene, keep watching these TikTok videos over and over. And we have also shared a pre-scene mind map document, a PDF version of it with you as well, which can be downloaded from our student dashboard. So go through this document, or keep watching these TikToks over and over so that you are constantly kept reminded of the most important points highlighted within the pre-scene. And also, I urge you guys to read through the blog post concerning your chosen company, SumTrix, so that you'd have a good understanding of, or you'd remind yourself once more about the internals and externals of your chosen company. So, having said that, it brings us to the end of the masterclass conducted in lieu of your P1 syllabus, especially focused on break-even analysis. I hope you gained something out of this session. And similarly, I will be conducting a masterclass focused on your E1 syllabus, directing your attention towards one of the syllabus areas. And in these final 2 weeks, I want you to direct your attention towards attempting mock exams. Keep pushing forward, because the most important preparation related activities should be put in within these 2 weeks. So if you're lagging behind, don't worry. It simply comes down to attempting our mock exams and making sure to conduct revision focused on the same 6 mock exams. And if you do so, you can easily pass this examination. So thank you for joining. I'll see you guys next Sunday at 10 GMT or 10 AM UK as usual. Thank you and take care.